The 48th floor of Harper Global Logistics overlooked nearly all of Midtown Manhattan. From Daniel Harper's office, the city looked orderly, almost manageable. Traffic moved in glowing streams. Snow-dusted rooftops like powdered sugar. The giant Christmas tree at Rockefeller Center shimmered in the distance, its lights blinking in synchronized perfection. Inside the glass tower, everything was quiet. It was Christmas Eve, रात के 8:03. Daniel loosened his tie and leaned back in his leather chair, staring at the reflection of his own silhouette in the window. The office lights were still on behind him, casting his figure against the dark sky like a ghost suspended over the city. He had done this every year for 5 years. Stayed late, turned off his phone, ignored invitations, worked until midnight. He called it discipline, but discipline wasn't the full truth. His assistant, Claire, had stood at his doorway earlier that afternoon holding a small wrapped box. "Sir," she had said carefully, "the team ordered dinner downstairs for anyone staying late." "But, you don't have to." Daniel had barely looked up from his screen. "I'll manage," he'd replied. She hesitated. "Merry Christmas, Mr. Harper." "Merry Christmas, Claire." She left, and he returned to spreadsheets and shipment projections. Numbers were safe. Numbers didn't ask questions. Numbers didn't remind him of the empty penthouse waiting 20 blocks north. He glanced at the framed photo on the edge of his desk. His wife, Elena, smiling under falling snow on their first Christmas after his company had gone public. Her dark curls framed her face, her eyes sparkled with something he used to call patience. "You'll regret missing too many holidays," she had once told him gently. "I'm building something for us," he had replied confidently. He had believed it. Success required sacrifice, repetition, focus, and so he built habits. Morning runs at subah ke 5 baje. Board reviews every Monday. Investor calls every Thursday. Christmas Eve, always at the office. When Elena became ill, he tried to rearrange his schedule, but by then the habit of distance had grown roots. Even sitting beside her hospital bed, he found himself checking emails. After she passed, the silence at home felt unbearable. The first Christmas without her, he had walked into their living room and stood frozen beside the undecorated tree. He couldn't plug it in. Instead, he went to the office. The lights were bright. The building hummed. Security nodded respectfully. It felt easier than grief. That one decision became a pattern. And patterns become identity before we realize it. At रात के 8:17, a soft knock interrupted his thoughts. Daniel blinked, startled. The cleaning crew usually worked silently. The door opened slowly. Mrs. Alvarez, the night janitor, stood holding her mop in one hand and a white envelope in the other. She wore a red knitted scarf and smelled faintly of peppermint soap. "I'm sorry to interrupt, Mr. Harper," she said gently. "It's fine," he replied, sitting straighter. "Is something wrong?" "No, sir. 3 little girls were here earlier. They left this for you." She stepped forward and placed the envelope on his desk. Daniel stared at it. The paper was inexpensive, slightly damp from snow. A small glittery snowflake sticker sealed it shut. On the front, written in uneven pencil strokes, "To the men in the tall glass building." Daniel frowned slightly. "They said it was important, Mrs. Alvarez added. They waited in the lobby for a while." "For me?" he asked. "Yes, sir. They said you would understand." He almost smiled at that. "Understand what?" She shrugged softly. "Children see things differently." Daniel nodded slowly. "Thank you. Merry Christmas, Mr. Harper." "Merry Christmas, Mrs. Alvarez." When she left, the silence returned, but it no longer felt the same. The envelope seemed almost alive on his desk. He didn't open it immediately. Instead, he stood and walked toward the window. From here, he could see the small park across the street. Snow covered the benches. A lamppost flickered gently near the path. He had looked at that park countless times without truly seeing it. Had there been children there before? Had there been faces looking up at his lit office window? He returned to his desk and picked up the envelope. His fingers hesitated on the edge of the paper. Why did this feel heavier than it should? He broke the seal. Inside was a single sheet of lined notebook paper, folded neatly in thirds. He unfolded it slowly. The handwriting was uneven but determined. "Dear men in the tall glass building, we see you every year. You are always alone on Christmas. Our mom says some people work too much because they are sad. We wanted to tell you that being alone is not a rule. It is just a habit. We know because our dad used to sit alone too. Then one Christmas he came downstairs and helped us build a snowman. Now he never stays alone anymore. If you want, you can come outside tomorrow at din ke 10 baje." We will be building the biggest snowman in the park across the street. You can help. From The Three Snow Sisters. Daniel read it once, then again. His jaw tightened slightly. We see you every year. The words felt like a spotlight. For years, he had believed he was invisible in his loneliness, hidden behind glass and success. But children had noticed. 3 little girls had watched the same light in the tall building glow every Christmas night. He sat back slowly. Being alone is not a rule. It is just a habit. He whispered the sentence aloud. A habit. He had built an empire on the science of habit. He gave leadership seminars about consistency and repetition. He quoted research about how small daily actions shape extraordinary outcomes. But he had never applied that logic to his own isolation. He stayed because it was easier than going home. He worked because it was easier than remembering. He repeated it until it felt permanent. His eyes drifted again to Elena's photograph. You'd laugh at this, he murmured softly. He imagined her teasing him gently. You built a company with billions, but 3 children figured you out. A strange warmth spread through his chest, uncomfortable, unfamiliar. Not grief. Something else. Possibility. He stood up and walked toward the window again, pressing his hand lightly against the cool glass. Snow continued to fall softly over the park. Tomorrow at din ke 10 baje. He pictured himself standing outside among children and families. It felt awkward, unnecessary, almost childish. And yet, the idea of not being alone tomorrow felt like stepping off a cliff, and also like breathing fresh air after years indoors. He looked at the clock. Raat ke 9 bajne mein 14 minute baki. Normally, he would settle back into work until midnight. Instead, he closed his laptop. The click echoed louder than expected. He slipped the letter carefully into his coat pocket. For the first time in 5 years, Daniel Harper turned off the lights in his office before 9 p.m. on Christmas Eve. As the room darkened, his reflection disappeared from the glass. And across the street, in the snow-covered park, 3 small sets of footprints remained, proof that someone had been watching and caring all along. Daniel Harper stood in front of his penthouse window, staring down at the park across the street. Snow glittered under the sun like scattered diamonds. Families were already outside, parents with coffee cups, children dragging sleds, dogs bounding through white drifts. His eyes searched for 3 identical pink hats. Din ke 10 baje. His heart was beating faster than it ever did before a board meeting. This is ridiculous, he muttered to himself. He was the CEO of a billion-dollar company. He negotiated international contracts. He faced aggressive investors without blinking. And yet the thought of walking into that park felt terrifying. Because this wasn't business. It was personal. He pulled the folded letter from his coat pocket and read one line again. Being alone is not a rule. It is just a habit. Something inside him shifted. He grabbed his coat. 5 minutes later, Daniel stood at the edge of the park. And there they were. 3 little girls in matching pink hats and purple scarves, struggling heroically to roll a giant snowball. Their laughter rang across the park like bells. He's here, one of them shouted. All 3 turned at once. 3 identical faces lit up. Daniel froze for half a second. Then he stepped forward. You came. The girl in the middle beamed. I did, he replied. I'm Emma, I'm Lily, and I'm Ava. They pointed at each other in perfect rhythm. We're triplets, they announced proudly. I gathered, Daniel said, unable to stop a smile from forming. You were taller than I imagined, Ava said thoughtfully. You're less grumpy than I imagined, Lily added. Emma elbowed her sister. We didn't say he was grumpy. Daniel laughed, a real laugh. The kind he hadn't heard from himself in years. Their mother approached, brushing snow from her gloves. She looked slightly embarrassed. I hope the letter wasn't too forward, she said gently. They insisted. It wasn't forward, Daniel answered honestly. It was brave. Emma grabbed his hand without hesitation. Help us. This is the body part. The snowball was massive. Daniel bent down, pushing alongside them. The snow was heavy, cold seeping through his gloves. His expensive wool coat was definitely not designed for snow construction. But he didn't care. They pushed together, boots slipping, laughter erupting every time it tilted dangerously. Move to the left. No, the other left. Emma, you're pushing air. Daniel found himself shouting directions, strategizing like it was a company project. Team, he said playfully, we need better coordination. The girls giggled. We need a CEO. Lily teased. Daniel paused. He hadn't heard that word used like that before, lightly, joyfully. Fine, he said. I volunteer. With his help, they lifted the middle section into place. It wobbled dangerously. Everyone stepped back. The snowman leaned. Don't fall, Eva whispered dramatically. It held. They erupted into cheers. Daniel felt something rise in his chest, something warm and unfamiliar. Not pride, not success, joy. Carrot time, Emma declared. She handed him the carrot with ceremony. You do it, she insisted. You're the tall building man. He stepped forward and pressed the carrot into the snowman's face. It sat slightly crooked. Perfect, Lily said seriously. They added stones for eyes, buttons from someone's pocket, and a striped scarf around its neck. When they were done, the snowman stood proudly, uneven, imperfect, magnificent. Daniel stepped back, breathing slightly heavier. You know, he said softly, I haven't built a snowman since I was a kid. That's too long, Eva replied firmly. Emma studied him carefully. Were you scared to come? Daniel hesitated. Yes. Why? He looked at the park. Families laughing, snowballs flying, life happening. Because I'd spent a long time being alone, he admitted. Lily nodded like she understood something very serious. Our dad used to stay in his office a lot, she said. Mom said habits can trap you. Emma added, but they can also free you. Daniel felt those words land deeply. Habits can trap you. Habits can free you. For years, he had trained himself to work harder, longer, better. But he had also trained himself to avoid connection. Avoid silence. Avoid grief. And today, simply by stepping outside, he had interrupted that pattern. Their mother approached with a thermos. Hot chocolate, she offered. The girls gasped dramatically. Yes please, they chorused. She handed Daniel a cup as well. Steam rose into the cold air. He wrapped his hands around it, letting warmth seep into his fingers. Why did you really write to me? He asked gently. The girls exchanged glances. Because we saw your light, Emma said. Every year, Lily added. And you looked lonely, Eva finished. Daniel swallowed. They had noticed. While he thought no one saw him behind the glass, 3 children had watched that glowing office window year after year. He looked up at his building towering over the park. For the first time, it didn't look powerful. It looked distant. You don't have to sit up there tonight, Emma said quietly. You can sit down here. Something inside him cracked, not painfully, but like ice melting. Would you, he hesitated, then continued, like to join me for lunch? There's a cafe on the corner. The girls screamed in excitement. Their mother smiled warmly. Only if we're not intruding. You're not, Daniel said firmly. You're changing something. Inside the cafe, windows fogged with warmth. The girls talked non-stop, about school, about snow angels, about how they once tried to build a snow dog instead of a snowman. Daniel listened, really listened. He wasn't checking his phone. He wasn't thinking about quarterly reports. He was present. At one point, Eva leaned toward him and said seriously, if you come next year too, it becomes a tradition. Daniel blinked. A tradition. Not a lonely office. Not a glowing window. A snowman. He smiled slowly. Then I suppose I'll have to come next year, he said. The girls cheered again. And somewhere inside Daniel Harper, a new habit quietly began forming. The habit of showing up.